and welcome to the first ever episode of the Rita Goodroe Show. I'm really excited. We have such a great episode in store for you today. I'm in a wonderful location that I'll be telling you about. But before I dive into today's episode, I just wanted to take a little bit to let you know that all of my life, I have really wanted to have my own TV show. I mean, when I was in kindergarten or younger than that, I was a ham, surprise, shocker, and I wanted to be in every play, everything that there was. In fact, in kindergarten, I was awarded the lead in a play called Telly the Tooth. But because I had memorized every single line of the play, not just my own, but every single line, they gave me the role of prompter, like off the stage. I had to sit and prompt everybody with their lines, but I didn't give up. And I decided to keep watching, right? I watched Solid Gold. I don't know if I just dated myself with that, but I watched Solid Gold all the time. I tell you guys, if you go down the rabbit hole of Googling Solid Gold, you will not be disappointed at all. But I was going to be a Solid Gold dancer. It was going to be incredible. And then I watched Star Search. Much to my mother's chagrin, I fell in love with the musical Annie, and I was singing at the top of my lungs all day in my little red wig and my dress, and then it just kept going from there. I just kept singing. Now, I can't sing a note, guys, to save my life, which is why I'm like my poor mother. Mom, I know you're watching, so I'm so sorry for all of that. But I was going to be this big performer, and so I followed that through. In high school, I got into all of the high school plays. The musicals, although they put me in the chorus, I was never like a featured singer, but I was in all of the high school plays. And then in my career, that transitioned over into being a professional speaker and touring the world and getting to speak. And then a few years ago, I started my podcast. I have a podcast called The Rita Made Me Do It Show. It is a show where I really help entrepreneurs as a whole take uncomfortable actions, and we talk about how to do them so that you're able to achieve big success in your life. And so all of that brought me right here to where I am today. I have a producer guy. How fancy does that sound? I have a producer and she's like dancing in the background. It brought me right here today to having the Rita Goodroe Show, where I can shine a light on the people, the information, the places, the conversations that are making a difference in the world and will make a difference in your life and your business. And that's so exciting to me. But here's the thing, guys. I almost said no. To it. Now, don't get me wrong. At the end of the conversation, when my producer, Carolyn, was like, you need to do this, obviously, I said yes. But in the moment, I almost passed it by because I wasn't ready for it. I felt like, who am I to have a show? Who am I to lead these conversations? Who am I to request to interview these people and sit in these spaces? I'm not ready yet. That's what I thought. I'm not ready yet. And then I started kind of creating this mental checklist in my mind of what I needed to be ready. I had to be at a certain stage in my career. I needed to have had certain kinds of clients. I needed to have appeared on certain kinds of stages. I needed to have taken advantage of certain things. And I thought, oh my gosh, I don't know when I'm ever going to be ready to have my own show. And it took my husband. Some of you know him, some of you don't. If you stick around this show, because this is a business show, yes, but this is a fun, personal business show. You will not be disappointed, I promise. I promise that as the show goes on, it will grow and grow. But one person you will meet at some time or another is my husband. And my husband looked at me and said, I don't know how you're not ready for this. If you're not ready today, like, really, Rita, when are you ever going to be ready? You should be ready by now. And I thought, well, that makes sense. That's right. When am I? I was creating, and I don't know how many of you do this, but I was creating all of these check boxes in my mind that I had to check off to be able to take advantage of an opportunity. But the reality was I was never actually going to be able to meet all of those. And here's the thing I found out. Did you know that only 44% of the workforce in television is comprised of women? And so here I was, a woman, being offered a platform, and I was about to turn it down, an opportunity that doesn't come around for women very often. And I thought, no, because this same pattern plays itself out with my clients over and over again. They're not ready. They're not worthy. They're not able to charge the rates that they want to charge, ask for the work they want to receive, get on the stages that they want to talk about. So I knew they would be watching me. They would hear this story. And if I told them that at this stage of my career, which for many of my clients, I'm ahead of them, right? That's why they've hired me. I'm ahead of them in my career. And they look to me not to be me, but kind of as a source of inspiration. And I knew at that moment, if I turned this down, what was I telling them? What message would I be sending to them? Saying, if after 8 years, I'm not ready, they were wanting the same opportunities as me. They would never feel ready if I didn't feel ready. And I thought, I don't want to create that cycle. I don't want to keep that in a loop where people never feel ready to take advantage of their opportunities because there's always something else to achieve. There's always something greater to do. And this is why when I heard about the Dolly Parton story, I got a little angry, guys. I'm gonna be honest about that. So if you haven't heard the Dolly Parton story, she was nominated to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame very recently, a week or so ago. And she said, and I quote, I have her quote, well, she turned it down. She said, please take me out of consideration. And then she said, I hope the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame will understand and be willing to consider me again if I'm ever worthy. And I felt now I love Dolly Parton, y'all. I love Dolly. And I was mad at Dolly because I knew girls were watching everywhere. This woman who had achieved so many things say she was not worthy yet of being in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So I did a little digging. It turns out Miss Dolly Parton had also turned down 2 other awards previously, and her, not with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, other awards. And she said, I'm not sure I even deserve it. I'm not sure I even deserve it. So this language is popping up in Dolly Parton of I'm not worthy, I'm not enough, I'm not ready. Women are already faced with so many challenges that are created externally. You have challenges that women are facing with COVID-19, work-life balance, lack of capital, lack of support, unconscious bias thrown at women in every situation. But are we reinforcing that? Are we women reinforcing and affirming that with language like, I'm not worthy, I'm not ready? Are we teaching other people to downplay their accomplishments and downplay their strengths? Are we affirming what people are thinking of us through our actions and words? And that's why I'm really happy to be here at Hera Hub in DC on today, which is National Mom and Pop Business Day. And we're in Women's History Month. And I thought this is an incredible conversation to have. Hera Hub DC is a woman-focused co-working space to create a community for women to help them overcome these challenges. And so I'm going to be introducing you to Julia Westfall, the founder, and we're going to have an honest conversation. We're going to have a conversation about the challenges that women face here in entrepreneurship, about the unconscious bias, and more importantly, what we can do to overcome that. So I hope you sit back, stay tuned. I can't wait to introduce you to Julia, and we are going to get really into the nitty gritty, but you're going to walk away with actions that you can take to elevate you and women as a whole so that we succeed and continue to showcase our victories publicly for years to come. So I really thank you and appreciate you being here for this very first episode of the Rita Goodroe Show. So stay tuned. Next is Julia Westfall, the founder of Hera Hub DC. I can't wait for you guys to meet her.
I'm Charles Meriday, and I'm in the restaurant business. In my 20 years as a chef and restaurant owner, I've been able to work and eat in some of the great kitchens around the globe. There's a whole side of the restaurant that most people will never get to see. So now, I want to take you to the back of the house, into kitchens of some of the best chefs in the world. Along the way, I'll share some of my own tips and recipes so you can cook like a pro too. So join me in the back of the house for a whole new perspective on cooking and food. Order in. Roger. Serve it, please.
Bona fide, Club.
I'm glad that you came, please.
Are you a jazz lover? If so, have we got something special for you? Presenting Tracy Hamlin's Sweet Jazz Concerts. The first concert of 2022 is Sunday, May 1st, with saxophonist Paula Atherton and the songstress herself, Tracy Hamlin, at the River Creek Country Club in Leesburg, Virginia. Sunday, May 1st at 4 p.m. For more information and tickets, visit www.sweetjazzconcerts.com.
Sponsored by the Bank of Clark.
Drew on the key, so this not.
With Julia. Before I introduce you to Julia, you're going to meet her in a second. I just want to let you know a couple of things that you can expect in upcoming episodes as well. So there is going to be a Rita Goodroe intro, like a specific to the Rita Goodroe show. And I'm going to have you guys help create it with a contest and giveaway. So I want you to stay tuned. They're going to be man on the street interviews. Mm-hmm. There are going to be on-site games and contests. I mean, guys, I'm not kidding. This is not a normal talking head business. It can't be. If you know me, you know it can't be. So I just want to set the standard, but I am excited for this it's a fun but serious conversation today with Julia. So Julia, thank you for being here with me today.
I can't believe it. Thank you so much for asking me.
I couldn't think of anybody else to have for the first episode.
So sweet.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And what a great space, great artwork.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah. I'm gonna have to go get a TV studio now. After this, guys, are you here? I'm gonna have to get a TV studio live taping.
I'm glad it's a good backdrop.
So I'm really glad because today is National Ma and Pa Business Day.
Okay.
You know, Mom and Pa Business Day. It's also Women's History Month, which we're still in the middle of.
Right.
And I was just telling my audience that when I got this TV show, I was thinking maybe I'm not ready for it yet. Right? Maybe I'm not going to do it. Maybe I'm not ready. And then I started thinking more and more about all of the Dolly Parton story and everything that's been in the news and how women never feel ready. And I thought, this is a conversation that needs to happen, but it needs to happen with somebody like you who's created a community for women entrepreneurs to come together and overcome a lot of these mindsets and a lot of these challenges, right?
Absolutely.
But before we get into all of that, I want to find out a little bit about you.
Wow.
And if you've ever listened to my podcast, some of you know I love to start my podcast with this question, and I don't mind repeating a few things on my podcast and my TV show. It's my show. I can do what I want.
That's right.
So tell me about Julia at age 7. Like, what did you love doing? What was your personality like? What kinds of activities did you enjoy?
Well, at age 7, I was living in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And, when I have just something funny to share.
Okay.
That was 61 years ago.
You're like that.
So I'm thinking back to when I was age 7.
Yeah.
But, I loved going to the beach since we lived in Virginia Beach. I was saving up to buy a horse.
Okay.
I actually got reprimanded because I was in the brownie troop and I was saving my dues, my 10 cents for my brownie
for your
dues,
horse.
for my horse.
For your horse.
That I ultimately did have.
Okay, you did. You got it.
Yeah.
And
Later
you stayed in the brownies, right? Like you.
Well, no. I thought,
horse
anyway,
brownies.
Yeah. So, but the horse came much later in my almost in my 50s. So, but yeah, I loved school. I loved to read. I used to ride my bike like crazy around the neighborhood, and and that's just it was just a fun time living.
I'll tell you why I asked this question. I'll let you guys, the audience, know why I asked this question. There was a study done. I don't know. They did a study, whoever they are, a long time ago, that said that you are your most authentic self at age 7. That who you are at age 7, it's like you're old enough to know who you are, but you're not yet old enough to care what everybody else thinks about you. So you tend to be like your most authentic. So the things you loved doing, like I loved plays, I loved theater, I loved speech, but the things you love doing and the way that you show up is your most authentic self. And if you start feeling kind of disconnected from your life, it's often because you've stopped doing the things that are truly tied to the authentic you, right? And so
are you telling me I need another horse?
I think you need to buy a horse for Hair Hub. I think everybody needs to go on a horse ride. I'm going to be there, No, but it's like, I was curious. Were you like part of a community? You were in brownies. Were you part of a community was that always something that was important to you, or no? Like, is this like relatively new that you're like, I really want to create a community?
Well, you know what I think a lot of it was about, and that's one of the reasons why I named my business after my mother, is she was a home ec teacher.
Okay.
She was a home ec teacher, and she really spent her teaching career supporting young women and girls to help them learn the life skills that they needed to have a successful, independent life, And so that's why I named my corporate entity the DJ Legacy Group. Her name was DJ.
I thought you were like, boom chicka pound that like we were gonna dance to unsa 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 unsa, right? Like, not that, but more important what you're talking about.
But it's so that was really and I really think that really shaped me early on, that she really was one of the most defining people for me in terms of how she just wanted to help these young women, and many of whom, and this was back in the 60s and 70s, it wasn't very typical for the women to or the young girls to kind of know how to balance a checkbook, how to manage all of that stuff.
Still, to this day, still very much to this day.
I think she really raised me and my dad, and she really raised me to be independent and to, and be resourceful for myself. And I think that is really what shaped me.
Okay.
And why I'm doing what I do now, and why I love supporting women business owners.
Well,
community.
I think that's incredible. I want to talk to you about, how did you decide though to open Hair Hub? Because it's not like you just went through school and said, I'm going to open a co-working space for women entrepreneurs. In fact, I don't believe that was your journey at all. So tell me a little bit about like what your background is and how it came to be that you were opening.
Well, actually, I'd worked for the small businesses for about 25 years.
Yes.
And they were all different kinds. They were retail florist, catering company, and all of that. And because of my skill set I had for when I was working in tech and IBM and Wang. And so I did that, and I really enjoyed that. And then I was almost thinking about retiring. And then I read a story about Felina Hansen, who's a founder in San Diego.
Yes.
And I thought, this sounds like my next step. I actually emailed my husband a copy of the article and said, I think I found my next thing.
It's incredible. You weren't ready. You weren't ready to just be retired. You wanted to create the space.
No.
So when did you create Hera? What year? Was it 2016?
Well, I opened in 2015.
2015.
I bought the agreement. We made our contracted in 2014. And I first saw the article in December of 2013. My daughters had gone to college and I was, restless. I mean, I loved my job, but I couldn't see myself retiring from there.
Yeah.
And I couldn't see myself retiring yet. So I thought, why don't I do something?
Well, so I'm curious because your background was in tech, but as an employee of other companies.
Right.
So how has creating and going through this entrepreneurship journey on your own influenced what happens here at Hera Hub?
Well, and I think it's actually really intentional the way Felina designed the program instead of putting an employee at the head, because nobody knows what an entrepreneur goes through until you do it.
So true, guys.
So
everybody at home is like, yes, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I think it's so, but that's what I mean. That's why I think it's so valuable for this space that you have gone through an entrepreneurship journey and now you're pouring into this community from that place of having gone through it yourself.
Right. Using and leveraging all of the things that I learned in sales and marketing management for IBM and Wang, and then working with small business owners, to help them, learn how to read their financial statement, help them figure out how to negotiate a lease. And those are all the different kinds of things that business owners need to do and consider when they're starting their company or growing their business. And so that to me was a natural fit because I had this 40 years worth of business experience.
Yeah.
And I wasn't ready to just say goodbye to it. And then when I heard about what Felina was doing, I thought, this is a perfect thing for me, because it's not just about building my own business to make money. It was really more mission driven, that I really wanted to support and share what I learned over 40 years with other people.
So I can't wait to come back and talk to you about a few things that you might have experienced as an entrepreneur, starting your business. A lot of the things we're going to talk about that I know many people here and at home have experienced. And we're going to really dive into some of these challenges, some of these unconscious bias situations that women face, and then how Hera Hub, how you and how we as a whole can overcome these challenges. So guys, stay tuned. We'll be back soon.
Time. It has a different meaning in the U.S. Virgin Islands. It goes backwards, forwards, it stops. St. Croix is rooted in history. So much of it still remains untouched.
I remember running on these streets as a kid. This shop was right down there. It opened the same year I was born. This is where the original Crucian hook was born. It's the symbol of these islands. And I wanted to have my hands in that very same history. I want to be able to pass it down to my family while still putting a new spin on it.
The U.S. Virgin Islands, we have an amazing culture that developed over time from all over the world.
St. John feels so untouched. Being underwater is like another world. There's no worries, there's no stress. I can just escape. This is my happy place. My passion for scuba diving came at just being fascinated with the water and wanting to be a mermaid. And this is the closest thing I can get to achieving mermaid status. Canadians just love being outdoorsy. We live for adventure, so we love anything hiking, being on the water, diving, snorkeling, and St. John has it all.
It's like some spirit is protecting the island and keeping them raw. The Makujumbi watches over the island. From up there, they keep the evil spirits away. The nightlife in St. Thomas is absolutely amazing. There's always something going on. Everyone comes together to dance and catch a vibe. We're always celebrating. We celebrate freedom, culture, the food, the smell, the music. It's always a celebration. The people here are probably the most priceless thing because they keep the culture going. There's so many different influences on these islands. Food from all kind of countries coming together in new dishes. All of us came from somewhere, but all of we call this home. The VI is a new melting pot. This is where the past and the future comes together.
Welcome back. I'm back with Julia Westfall, the founder of Hera Hub, a woman-focused co-working community here in the Washington, D.C. area, although there are franchises all over. So if you just go to herahub.com, you can check them out. We'll definitely be giving you that information. But I wanted to dive in. Many of you heard, and if you missed the top of the show, I was telling a story about Dolly Parton and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and how Dolly kind of kept saying she didn't feel worthy or ready, like she had not earned her place there yet, which is incredible because she has been in business forever. And also she had turned down other awards before saying the same thing. I don't think that I'm worthy of this. And I almost turned this TV show down because I didn't feel as worthy of this, right? So I want to dive into why that is, but let's talk about the facts first that are really important, which is, according to it's UNEI's 2020 report on gender and small businesses, men are twice as likely to start and succeed at a business, right? So why do you think that is? Why 2 times? That's high, guys. So why are men 2 times more likely to start and succeed at business from your point of view and what you've experienced?
Well, I think there are a couple of factors because I think that there is a societal expectation that men are the breadwinners. Yeah. You know, I don't, as much as women are significant parts of the earnings for families or just on their own. I think that still we do have that culture where it's expected for a man to start a business, to have a long career. And women, there's not that same expectation, you know, from just culturally for us. And so I think when a woman steps out and really wants to embrace what she wants to do, that there's a lot of pushback. There's a lot of pushback. And a lot of times, and I think we might touch on this a little bit later, there is this sense of, I'm not ready. Yep. What I have isn't valuable enough.
Yes.
And I have no idea what to charge. I have no idea how to manage this aspect.
Guys, are you hearing this at home? How many of you at home have thought the same things, right? How many of you at home have thought, I'm not ready. What I have to contribute isn't valuable, right? I can't charge that rate. Who am I to say these things and lead these conversations, right?
Yeah.
And that comes from, I think, just like you said, society as a whole and the pushback that women receive from kind of deviating from what was expected.
Right. What's a typical path?
What's a typical path, right?
Yeah.
Well, so this unconscious bias, and for you guys, like unconscious bias is just, it's little things that happen to women. Like the most simple way I can say, little things that happen to women on their journey to success, right? Like it's men not looking at women when they talk. It's going into pitch into a room, in a room full of people for funding, and the questions aren't asked of you. It's a bank saying, is your husband going to co-sign on the, which believe it or not, that still happens. Banks have actually said, like in an anonymous survey, that they find women to be less credit worthy, which I think, than men, because women are more likely to give up their businesses. And I found that to be, but unconscious bias runs really deep. And so what are some of the ways that you personally, right? I mean, you are an entrepreneur, right? How have you experienced some of these situations where you get this pushback or these little like signals from people saying, no, maybe you aren't enough and maybe you shouldn't be at this table?
Well, I'm actually going to answer something a little bit different.
Sure, please do.
Because I think it's really important. When I first started out in my career, my serious career, I started working for IBM. I was hired by a woman.
Okay.
I worked for more women early on in my tech career at IBM and Wang than I worked for men.
For men, okay.
And so I think what that meant to me is that was a gift I did not realize I was getting in terms of seeing these women and valuing the role models that they were setting, and they were getting promoted and they were making forays. And so I had an experience, unlike other people's, is those were my role models.
Yeah.
So it wasn't as big a leap for me.
That's so interesting
to say, okay, now I want to do something on my own. I always felt like I wanted to.
Yes.
And I would visualize having a retail store. This isn't quite retail, but I had these visualizations.
Yeah.
So, but I see so many women that have not had that experience.
That's so true. I mean, in fact, when I went down the rabbit hole of research for this, one thing that came up was the lack of successful women in the media, right? On the magazine covers, in the news articles, on the podcasts, on
as
TV.
your boss,
as your boss,
as your executive.
Yeah.
And so,
in the C-suite, as the CEOs, like in corporate, like a lack of that representation, which only reinforces to women, you're not supposed to be in these places and spaces, right? So it's it makes a lot of sense that you weren't around that and you took risks which makes sense, guys, why men might be more willing to do that, right? Well, let's talk a little bit about funding. I know people are always interested in funding and capital, and it's no secret that women struggle to get funding for their businesses. Again, with banks thinking and investors thinking women are less creditworthy or less good, they're not such a great investment, right? But we believe differently. But why do you think that is? Why do women struggle to get the capital that seems to come so easily to male-owned businesses?
Well, I think it's because a lot of times they don't take women seriously. I think that there is, and I think that, and maybe that might be because they're starting their business on the side, they're working part-time because they've got all of these other commitments. But most of the women that I know that have pursued and are looking to grow and scale are so much more focused on their business. A lot of times they actually have to be to a point where they don't need funding in order to get funding.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm answering.
No, you are. Yeah. But I kind of like, I'm like, oh my God, I wish we could talk for 18 hours, right?
I know.
But do you think, in my head, what I talked about at the beginning too, sometimes we might also reinforce these external challenges. We might be making them stronger through our own language, right? Where women are saying things like, I'm not a CEO. CEO sounds so pretentious. Or I'm not a salesperson. I'm just a service provider.
Rita, I can't tell you how many times, because I've worked with a lot of women that are launching their businesses. and we talk about your unique value proposition.
Yes.
What is it that you bring uniquely to your business and helping your clients solve the problems that they have to pay money for you to do that? And they go, well, I just have I'm getting my PhD at Duke University and I'm doing this. And that's, it's like this whole litany of a fabulous career. And you're like, but I'm not sure I'm worth $100 an hour.
Sure.
And I'm like, oh my God. So that's what I think is really important. Why I think that community is really important.
Yes.
And what we focus on is helping women in our community look at themselves differently.
Yes.
And find ways to understand, no, I really know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
I am highly valuable. My customers will be missing out if I don't work with them because I know how to solve their problems.
Yeah, I love that. And that's what I love about this community and this space. Another statistic from Business News Daily was that 48% of women in business lack advisors to help them move through the phases of entrepreneurship, right? So if someone comes to Hera Hub saying, you're right, I don't have these role models, I don't have these mentors, and I want to see myself differently, right? Yes, guys, the external factors are creating a lot of the challenges, but internally, we can control by how we show up and the language that we use and the things that we say. How does Hera Hub help women move through the phases of their business?
A lot of it is to do with our programming, where we have women in our network that are experts, for example, in sales, that are experts in finances and pricing and all of those other kinds of things. And we regularly meet to discuss exactly those types of things. Is how do you keep, and actually one of the best lines is that Felina says, because a lot of times we tend to give away our value.
Yes.
Thinking that it's not valuable enough, especially to a friend or a colleague. And then she has a very gracious way of saying, let me tell you how I work.
Let me tell you how I work.
Let me tell you how I work. If there's a nugget to take away, then that makes an easy transition. And as women, we want an easier transition.
Yes.
To say, listen, this is going into my paid services and this is how I work.
I love that. I guess if you all are missing this mentorship and missing this community, DC is one of how many locations?
Well, we've got 6 total, but we've got now we're doing virtual programming in over 11 cities and we're expanding.
Guys.
So it's very
awesome. Come get a seat at the Hera Hub table and find the mentors and the people who can really help you move through these stages and overcome a lot of these challenges, because it really does. The power does lie within you, your language. You are worthy. You are valuable, and places like Hera Hub can really help you achieve those things. And so, Julia, I'm really grateful that you're here. Is there anything that you just want to say to the audience? Maybe someone at home is like, oh my gosh, I've needed to hear this conversation. I needed to hear that I'm enough. Anything that you want to say?
I just say, just reach out. Just reach out. Go find your community. And if it's not Hera Hub, find another community, because the value of having a community to support you in your ideas and your vision, and also not to give you lip service. You want honest feedback. You don't want somebody to say, that's a great idea, when really they have no idea if it's a great idea.
Find someone who will tell you the truth. I can tell you it's Julia. Guys, Julia, thank you so much for being
Rita.
here.
I'm so delighted to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm like, are we at a commercial? Are we at...
jazz lover? If so, have we got something special for you? Presenting Tracy Hamlin's Sweet Jazz Concerts. The first concert of 2022 is Sunday, May 1st, with saxophonist Paula Atherton and the songstress herself, Tracy Hamlin, at the River Creek Country Club in Leesburg, Virginia. Sunday, May 1st at 4 p.m. For more information and tickets, visit www.sweetjazzconcerts.com.
Sponsored by the Bank of Clark.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. I am loving the show live and like learning. I mean, guys, you're here with my first episode. I really appreciate everybody for being here. So I want you to picture this in the future, right? In the future episodes, Rita on the street, microphone, asking questions of, surprised passerbyers, all kinds of like funny stories and funny things. Well, I've kind of done the same thing here a little bit in that I went to the co-working space and I pulled some people in for like a little man on the street moment. So like first, like if I was on, I'd be like, so tell me your name.
I'm Liz Whitehead. I'm CEO of 12.5 and Diversity Masterminds.
Okay, I love it. How long have you been a member of Hera Hub?
I've been a member of Hera Hub for 4 years now. I'm looking at Julia behind the camera. I think in about 4 years.
4 years. Okay, great. So I gave you a little bit of background into what we've been talking about today. And if I was on the street, I would ask you, like, have you ever felt like, was there an opportunity that you felt like you weren't ready to take advantage of? Was there a moment where you're like, I'm not ready? And then what allowed you to move past that or move into the next opportunity or that same opportunity? I'd love for you to share that story with the audience.
Oh, thank you. There's so many things. I think there's so many things we have in life where people say, and people don't even say it. You just feel like there are people that are this and people that are that. And I am one of this people or I'm a that person. I think people do it with sports, with the arts, with creativity. And for me, it was entrepreneurship. I had been working with women entrepreneurs for 20 years, probably 15 years when I started my business. And people would ask me, when are you going to start your business? And I was like, oh, that's not for me. I'm not an entrepreneur, because there are entrepreneurs and not entrepreneurs, and I am not one. And then I had 2 kids. And when I had my second kid, I was working for an international organization that was like, okay, great. It's been, 8 weeks since you had your baby. So we want to send you to Nigeria and South Africa. And I was like, I'm not ready for that. And so part of it was necessity, right? Entrepreneurship came out of necessity. But part of it came from that I was like, well, I just need to take this as a small bite. I don't have to be $1 million business owner by X time. I can just say, okay, well, let me cover the cost of childcare. If I can cover the cost of childcare, then it makes sense for me to still be working, and I can still make this work. So that was sort of my first year goal. And then I did that. And so then the next step was just more and more to where, 5 years later, it actually makes sense for me. And there's so many more things that you couldn't have told me 5 years ago. Like, I get to decide how much money I make.
What? That's great. So step by step, guys, that's what I'm hearing. Like, so there are Victoria's Secrets models, and then there are non-Victoria's Secrets models. I'm not but I could be one. So step by step, get in the Sears catalog. That's what I'm hearing, right?
Right. Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to rotate you out with our next guest. Hi, come on in. I'm like, man on the street, guys. This is a real man on the street, but woman in the co-work. I don't know why it's a whole woman-focused episode. I'm like, man, woman on the streets, woman in the co-working space. Hi, I'm Rita, by the way. Susanna. So I literally don't know. I look like sabotage Susanna. I was like, come on, you're going to come in. So this whole episode has been all about women holding themselves back from stepping into that next level of who they are because of how they really view themselves, right? Like, yes, there are challenges that women face from banks and external factors and judgment and the way society, but a lot of that is also reinforced by what we do, like saying that we're not this, or we're not that, or we're not worthy of this, or I shouldn't get that award. It all came from Dolly Parton saying she wasn't ready for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which made me mad. I was like, yes, you are. So if Dolly's not ready, we're all just out of luck. But I was wondering, was there ever a time in your life that you just didn't feel ready for something, or enough for something, or worthy of an opportunity? And how did you like move past that, whether it was for that specific opportunity or to not let that repeat again so that you could take a risk or take a leap?
The most intimidating thing I did recently was do a photo shoot for Planned Parenthood.
Oh, wow. A photo shoot of any kind is terrifying to me, by the way.
Well, I'm a photographer.
Okay.
But Planned Parenthood called me and they're like, we want you to take pictures at the women's rally. You know, like, I was like, what? Like, this is like
me? Like me? You want me to take pictures of this? Right? Like,
Yeah.
Isn't that funny then? That's always kind of our deep, like, me?
I was so scared. But I thought, well, how could I not, right? I mean, this is like one of the organizations I personally believe in. So, and it sounded so exciting. And what, you know, I always wanted to shoot that kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
I was terrified.
So for
turned out
people,
well though.
for people who are at home who are thinking, yeah, I'm terrified too. There's something I want to do and I believe in it. What would you say to the audience? You can look right at them right there. What would you say to them to make them feel like I can do it? If you can do it, I can do it. What allowed you to feel the fear? And I can't say feel it. I can't say the phrase because it's trademarked, believe it or not. But feel the fear and take an action anyway. What allowed you to do that? Maybe you can take a nugget to our audience.
I just thought about what I had done in the past and that people would like my pictures and that I was proud of them, and I thought about what it could bring particularly.
Yep.
And I decided I wanted people to see my vision.
Yeah. I love that. Well, I'm so glad that you shared that with us. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you.
Thank you.
You're free to exit the camera screen. And guys, I just wanted to share that takeaway there about looking at what you've accomplished. A lot of times it is so easy to forget what you've accomplished. So I love to create what I call an evidence box. It could be the past lawyer in me, right? My years as a lawyer, but where you take all of your skills, your strength, your experience, your education, all of the awards that you've gotten, all of the compliments that you've received from people in the past, and you put them all in a box. And whenever you're feeling like, who am I to, or what, go into the evidence box and look at the evidence saying, oh yeah, I've had this training. I've had this experience. I had this education. I had this moment. So I love that we heard, like, looking back to remind yourself, oh yeah, like I have had these opportunities. I have done these things. Like I am indeed ready and worthy, right? And then also connecting to the vision that's coming up of like, what is possible? Like you need to be more afraid of not doing it than you need to be of doing it. And that's definitely going to be an episode for another day. So in closing, because we're actually getting, guys, to the end of my first episode of the Rita Goodroe Show. And I just want to say that, first of all, I'm grateful to Julia. I'm very grateful to Julia Westfall and the Hera Hub community for allowing me to come in here, to take over their space, to take them from their days, to come and support this conversation, which I think is really important. And for sharing the community that she has really cultivated here at Hera Hub. And I hope you do. It's HERAHUB.com. Go to herahub.com. Check it out. Check out their online communities, their in-person communities, and find kind of like your people today. But also that we have this conversation, because I believe that it's vital that women hold more conversations publicly and openly. Discussing challenges, yes, absolutely. And talking about things that kind of are taboo. We need to normalize women talking about money, how much money they charge, how much money they earn, and the challenges that they're facing as they're out there trying to get capital. We need to normalize that we have challenges and that we're all going through them together. We need to talk about this work-life balance and public perception, but we also have to normalize celebrating our wins, because here is what is really incredible to me. And I'm going to try to get a guest on. I'm not going to spoil it in case I can't get them, but she wrote a book. And in this book, She said that there was a huge study done. Women are less likely to celebrate and talk about their accomplishments and achievements if they don't see other women doing it. But when they see other women doing it, it normalizes and gives them permission to do the same. So I really want to challenge you all to own your accomplishments, own your strengths, talk about them, celebrate them. It's not a selfish thing to do. It's actually telling other people it's okay for you to do so as well. And as we were talking about with Julia, the more people see this, the more that it happens, the more that it's on radio, in media, in articles, in spaces, in person, at events, the more then people will start normalizing women moving into these positions in these places that we've said that they're not able to go. So guys, seek out your community, find your mentors, elevate more women so that more women get elevated. Focus on your strengths and your skills and really own them so that others will do the same. Ask for what you need. Be mindful of your language. Don't talk down your achievements, your skills, your strengths, because that creates the situations that we want to avoid. It all starts with you guys. You are a salesperson. You are an expert. You are a CEO. You're worthy and you're ready for everything that is coming your way. And I can't wait to talk to you on next week's episode of the Rita Goodroe Show. So remember, we're going to have more conversations. We're going to have events. We are going to have man on the street interviews. It's going to be, I'm being taught. Experts are coming in to teach me things that I literally don't understand, like NFTs and all kinds of things, so that you're able to learn about them too. It's going to be real hands-on. We're going to have, I have to get a band. I think I have to get a band. We're going to have so much fun here at the Rita Goodroe Show. Episode by episode, we're going to grow. Much like Liz said when I talked to her, it's about those pieces, those bite-sized steps. Little by little, your vision will come to be. This is only the very first small piece of the Rita Goodroe Show. And I tell you what, I have got a vision and there are so many things coming. And I hope you will be here with me every Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern and watch it all happen, because I know I can't wait to share it with you. Thanks, guys. I'll see you guys next week.